Okay, well, hello, listeners. Welcome today to our podcast episode with Gord Sterritt. He is the executive director of the Upper Fraser Fisheries Conservation Alliance, as well as the CEO of Authentic Indigenous Seafood, and wearing many, many hats and positions as well. But those are the two that stand out to me. I met Gord at the Seafy Gathering in Victoria in February early this year. And we had a chance to learn and taste product from the Authentic Indigenous Seafood line, which was super wonderful. So he's sitting here with us today. Gord, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for
happy to be here.
Thank you so much. Well, we're just going to jump right in. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself, your passion, and your journey into this industry.
Okay. You captured my name, Gord Sterritt. I'm a member of the Gitxsan First Nation. My hereditary name is Sakyo. The Gitxsan First Nation is on the Skeena Nass watersheds, where I have both rights and responsibilities. But I also have responsibilities in the Upper Fraser River watershed where I work, and to the nations that I work with, both from a Upper Fraser Fisheries Conservation perspective, Upper Fraser Indigenous Sustainable Harvesters, and by extension, Authentic Indigenous Seafood. Some of my passions. Obviously, fisheries is a passion. I've been involved in fisheries for a long time, but I also enjoy hunting and fishing and camping and getting out with my family, and also teaching my grandchildren everything that I learned and my kids learned growing up.
Amazing. What was one of your earliest memories of fishing when you were growing up?
Holy smokes. A number of memories. I probably caught my first Chinook on the Kitwincool River that drains into the Skeena River, not far from our home. We had opportunities sometimes when large runs coming through, we lived right on the river, and we could see what was going on, and we could see the fish coming up the river and all the racket from all the animals and birds that were following and chasing those fish upriver. And then just getting involved in sort of the economic side of it later on in life, reeling the experience and lots of different things to do.
Amazing. Wow. Can you tell us how that evolved into working with Authentic Indigenous Seafood? How did you come up with this company or the business case model?
I think, recognizing through those experiences I had when I was younger, we always process our own food, whether it's a smokehouse or you're jarring or you're canning. We also, as I mentioned, the economic opportunities, and always watching these fish that were being harvested, sort of going into a commodity market, going out to the big food processors, and not really any identification of where those fish come from once they hit the market. And so one of the things when we started getting into economic fisheries and the Pacific Integrated Commercial Fishing Initiative, started by DFO and First Nations, to help First Nations get back into some of these traditional economies. With DFO and PICFI, we needed to be able to tell our story. We needed to be able to create more value out of the fish that we would be harvesting, because we didn't have those large numbers of fish. The big fisheries where we would just send our fish to a processor, have them processed. We had small fisheries, sometimes catching anywhere from 1,000 fish to 10,000 fish. And so looking at those fisheries and thinking about how we can create an economy and keep those fisheries viable, we started looking at the opportunities to be able to tell our stories, to tell the stories of those fisheries, but also value add those fisheries so that the harvesters would get the most they could out of in as far as returns for themselves, and also about creating food security, having the opportunity to send their own fish and have them processed and then brought back to the community, so they're already they have fish all year round.
Yeah. Well, and that's great to hear. Just the intention behind the fisheries and then the sustainabilities and the sustainability piece, especially when it comes to fishing, harvesting, knowing where food comes from. As I was digging into your website, I was looking at the cooperative side of things and how essentially you're working with different fisheries and also tribes as well. Would love to understand that and how you're working with specific harvesters and how this works, how this all comes together, because I understand traceability is a big piece.
Traceability is a big piece of this, and for a consumer to know that where their fish are harvested from, that it authentically caught. I guess just taking a step back, so a lot of the times, as we broke into sales and these kind of sales for indigenous fisheries and whatnot, there's a little bit of a misperception that these are illegal fisheries, or there was that perception, and we had to change those perceptions. We had to illustrate that, look, these are legal fisheries that are where we're harvesting fish inland or even on the coast. They're indigenous fisheries, and so in order to show you that, we've got this QR code. You can scan it, and you can see right from where those fish are harvested and how they go through the processing facility, and how they get packaged to tell the story from where those fisheries are from, and tying everything back to the harvesters and earlier sort of and helping re-engage in that traditional economy that's been lost.
Mhm.
Yeah. Wow. And I think just, the communication piece, especially understanding where the fish is coming from, who's involved in the processing side, how it's being caught. I understand there's also opportunities when people are working together, when you're working with different processors and fisheries as well. Do you also support these groups and connecting to different processing methods? And what does that look like in terms of support for cooperative members?
Well, I think, and that's an important part of the co-op, was it was really established because we realized that not all of our fisheries are consistent year after year. They're based on what the returns are looking like for individual rivers and watersheds, and but knowing that everybody wants to be, like, still be involved in these fisheries, and but not necessarily able to all have competing capacities with regards to processing, sales, marketing, and so we started the co-op because for that reason, to help alleviate some of the gaps and the issues we were having around, and helping sort of consolidate the sales and the marketing. And we just knew that we could not have, not everybody could have their own marketing capacity. Not everybody can have their own
Yeah.
processing capacity. And so how do we get around that? How do we make it viable for those small scale fisheries to grow and realize the opportunities that they may have? So that's why we started Authentic Indigenous Seafood, to provide all that, to the logistical support, the processing support, the marketing support, and working with the communities now working with the communities to come up with a production plan that meets what they want to see as far as hitting the markets, going to the various stores or wholesale markets. But also part of that production plan is understanding and planning out what they like to see coming back into their community for that food security initiative, as I mentioned earlier.
Wow. Does the network of Indigenous communities or fisheries, does it extend outside of BC? Do you have other communities outside of the province?
We do. We have a number of fisheries outside the province, and always growing. I mean, we were working with Prangatang Fisheries up in the Arctic on their Arctic char and turbot, and creating products for for them, as well as telling their story. Mostly a smoked product, but very good. I think working with a Métis woman in Saskatchewan. She's got a small fishery that she was looking to market her products, and also working with some fisheries in northern Saskatchewan and Manitoba. That these fisheries have been around for a long time. It's just trying to figure out again the logistics and what their stories are, and how to make, when those products do hit the market, how people can relate, and be interested in and purchase that product.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned like sales and marketing being a big piece of that as well, because it's oh man, it's one thing getting a product to shelf, but then how do you get the product off shelf, and that connecting with consumers to be able to translate that story in a clear way as well. And I think, as we're engaging with a whole range of brands, that is a challenge, right? So I think about how important is the storytelling as part of your organization, but then also how you're supporting other companies, other businesses as we're growing and getting their products to consumers.
I think the storytelling is probably one of the biggest pieces of this venture, and the importance of it in explaining what each individual fishery looks like. I think there's a misperception that everybody's fisheries are the same, especially inland and these individual fisheries, whether indigenous fisheries, whether they're close to the spawning grounds or they're en route through the migration corridors. They're all different. They're all unique, all unique fisheries. You've got dip netting, you've got fish wheels, you've got traps. And so, yeah, showing people, I mean, these are sustainably caught fish. Sometimes some of the most sustainable methods in the world. I mentioned dip net, where if you're targeting a certain species, you can take a dip. You've got a fish in your net. You can look, if that's not a targeted species, you can immediately replace it to gently put it back in the water and keep targeting the fish that you're looking for, the species that you're looking for. And I think being able to tell that story and illustrate that the sustainability of these fisheries and where these fisheries are, and just the history around those fisheries, I think is very important. And it gives people, I mean, it's not just a food, it's a product.
Yeah, that your packaging certainly speaks to that, where with the QR code, I think is very unique, but also in terms of highlighting the fisheries that was involved with it. I mean, I certainly had a chance to try turbot, which I've never tried, and then all kinds of other types of fish, but also smoked differently because that was, how it was prepared by this community in that way. So it was very eye-opening to be able to taste from one candied salmon to another, but prepared very differently. And you can certainly taste that in the texture and the flavors that came out when I tried that. So that was wonderful.
Yeah, when Laura was describing the products as she was tasting, I'm like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. Also, I've seen your product around. I have tried some, which has been such a treat. I'm curious when it comes to your packaging design, because it is beautiful, the design and also the way the product is communicated. What was the process when it came to the design of your packaging?
Well, we wanted something. I mean, we couldn't have package for absolutely everything. I mean, we were going down that road. We were packaging products specifically for that fishery, and but knowing that we have a co-op, and we've sort of, I mean, we're all and then all the members of the co-op, we looked at the packaging sort of more of a Indigenous design, First Nations design, but that it was more generic, I guess, and but it applied to all the products that we have. It still illustrates that it is Indigenous cod. It is I mean, and produced, and so we went through a lot of different renditions, I guess, is where I'm going. First, before Authentic Indigenous Seafood, we had another co-op that transitioned to AIS. Yeah, we went through a number of different packaging schemes, and we tried. I think we tried it all. This is where we landed, and I think it's definitely recognizable, and yeah, something to be proud of when you see it across the country in different stores.
Absolutely. Now, when we met in early February, there was a group, maybe from your company, going to Mexico. I'm wondering if I know you didn't end up going to Mexico, but I'm wondering if you can share some highlights from the trade mission If you're able to, if you feel comfortable.
Yeah, I think, exploring some of these markets, these export markets, I think is a good idea. We don't, our first priority is to be able to supply our own Canadian markets and let Canadians enjoy our products. But also recognizing, there's other markets, small scale, and I would say small scale markets as well, that really appreciate our product and where these fish are coming from. And so that was sort of reaching out, sort of exploring those. The Mexican Trade Mission, I think, was a good opportunity to share our product and our story, but also hear other stories. And because there's a lot of small scale fisheries, a lot of small scale food producers, and so how do we all work together and make it?
Going back to us here in Canada, what has expansion looked like for you across Canada? You mentioned you are in some stores or retailers in Canada. What has that been? What has that journey looked like for you?
We have definitely grown. We did a lot of, I guess, guerrilla marketing, where we would go out and have our products and just have it in various places. Basically hitting the pavement every week and getting those products into different stores, small community stores, some of the larger stores, and pursuing some of the larger markets as well. I think we now, we've expanded. Our products are being recognized in some of the larger centers and larger retail centers. I would say Whole Foods and a few others they're interested. And we're really interested in providing our products to them, especially the salmon candy and the various the various packages of salmon candy. So we're, um, I mean, I think we're feeding probably 200 stores across Canada right now. We have potential for another 500-600 stores or more. So it's always expanding, and one of the things is making sure that we have product for a consistent supply to those markets as well.
That's great. And the expansion and hitting the range of different sizes when it comes to the retailers. So I guess that takes us to the next question. We're kind of partway through 2026. What are some of those exciting initiatives that you'd like to share with listeners, whether it's perhaps trade missions or trade shows or perhaps even new launches? Yeah.
We don't necessarily have any new launches that I'm aware of yet that the production people have told me about. They might be surprising me.
What happens?
Here it is. So I'm like, okay,
Let's go.
But yeah, always looking for different opportunities. So really this year, like right now, we still have suppliers. A lot of our fisheries and inland fisheries, decisions are made in season. Like we can plan for a fishery. If those fish are not materializing, they're not showing up for whatever reason, climate change or disparaging migration conditions, we have to sort of pivot real quickly to something to another plan. And so right now we've got a number of plans underway based on what we've seen that's forecast to return for this year, for the Upper Fraser, for the Nass, for the Skeena, and other fisheries as well. But we won't know more until probably July, even like the week before the fishery, really understanding what things are going to look like, and then and making a plan based on that. So not a lot of surprises right now. I guess I would say for 26, 27, always looking at where there's opportunity to produce or emulate traditional foods. And so, there's smoked products that the Gitxsan, for instance, used and other First Nations used for millennia to store their food for the winter. And so not only are we just, we're producing these candy products and smoked candy products, but also, I guess one of the things on my radar is to try to emulate that traditional smoke product as well.
Amazing.
And so we've been working on it over a couple of years, and we'll continue to work on that. And yeah, it's a pretty neat, unique experience of product, and it's got to be done in a certain way. And so we'll get there. Yeah, I'm always looking for promoting small scale fisheries. You mentioned, do we have any more trade missions set up? I think one that we would be looking at is probably the Committee on Fishing, the coffee, the UN coffee event that's coming up in September. That could be we potentially could be attending there and talking about policy and these small scale fisheries and again, lessons learned from other small scale fisheries around the world.
Yeah.
So there's a couple events, I think beginning mid September that we're starting to look at that would be really good, not just for AIS, but for some of the proponents of these fisheries and fisheries managers to attend.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a very unique position where you are, especially when it comes to production, not only production planning, but planning or forecasting for your beginning inventory, because you really don't know how much you'll get as a catch. You have an idea, but it really is fascinating how you can plan processing based on a catch within a week.
To be that agile,
To
right?
be that
Yeah.
agile, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It probably is not, that's not the norm, but it is what it is. Like, I mean, if we see a fishery and all of a sudden we've got these 4,000 fish and little different part of the season, it could be later in the season, maybe a little different later or whatever. And so, yeah, we'll sit down and talk about the production planning and what we can make from those products and how we best utilize all of the meat and to come from those fish.
It clearly highlights, the seasonality of food and how food used to be processed, in time. Whereas I think it's a different way of thinking. You approach retailers and say, well, we have this forecasted because we're used to buying a set number of inputs for processing. But this is different. It's just a different approach, I think.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, really. I mean, we like I said earlier, we can plan based on the forecasts, but this is fisheries and fisheries science, and it's very unpredictable. We always sort of a standing joke is, I mean, this is fisheries science, not rocket science, because you can't put your finger on it. Any one year, you can do all the planning you want, and things can go completely sideways, or you can have, instead of 10,000 fish, you've got 1,000,000 fish coming back, or instead of 10,000 fish, you've got 1,000 fish coming back. It's unpredictable, volatile. It's also, if we can, and that also sort of explains why we have authentic Indigenous seafood, and to help consolidate those logistical challenges for everybody else.
I agree. And it's a great storytelling piece for the consumer, because I think as a consumer, they don't know or aren't aware of some of the hurdles, faced by a lot of these fisheries or the small scale fisheries. And so it makes that value of your product and the love that you put into, I think, a little bit more appreciative. I think that's great to hear that from you. So, well, we're approaching towards close to the end, but a couple more questions. Maybe the question from our previous guest. Are we ready?
We are ready. So this is kind of a tradition on our podcast where we pass a question down from a previous guest. Not, they don't know the next guest on the list. So this one actually just came in from Kristen Zerbin, founder of Hoochie Booch. We had a great conversation with her and her brand story and the building of Hoochie Booch. Just kind of ad lib. The question from Kristen is, what does your brand stand for that may not have anything to do with the products you sell?
What's our brand stand for that may not have anything to do with the products we sell? I've never really thought of that. I think it's a good question. It's a tough question, but I mean, I like to think that authentic indigenous seafood stands for everything that we do, and it's authentic. That we're not that it just illustrates that we're carried beyond just being authentic food. It's an authentic Indigenous business, and trying to make the best of the world we live in right now. That's a tough one.
Yeah, it is.
It's a good one.
That's a good one. And there's different pathways to thinking about the question. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on that. And yeah, so I guess the question is now over to you. What question would you like to leave for our next guest?
Yeah. Would your product blend well with fish? Salmon.
Would you? Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Look for a partnership.
A potential collaboration.
I like this.
Collaboration. There we go.
Yeah. So the question is, would your product blend well with fish?
Salmon.
Salmon.
Actually, you know what? And blend well with fish, because we don't have it's not just salmon. We have turbot, we have whitefish, we have whatever seafood.
Ooh, okay.
Love it.
Would your product blend well with seafood? I love it.
We'll keep you posted. On the next guest.
And then it could be a potential collaboration with your brand. You never know.
You never know.
There we go. Yeah.
Yes.
We'll have to do a dual podcast.
Yes.
Okay, now we've got a great collaboration here. Let's see what people can make. Very innovative.
Awesome.
I love it.
Wow.
I love it. Gord, thank you so much for your time. Certainly learned a lot. I appreciated Authentic Indigenous Seafood when I was there in Victoria. So I actually got to try turbot for the first time. I've never tried it. And lingcod.
Ooh, love lingcod.
Yes.
Yeah, there's you know what? Honestly, there's so much more that we can discuss as well. But this was really good. Good first sort of rip the Band-Aid off and throw me onto the screen sort of thing. And
Good.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Sounds good. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Thanks.
So nice to meet you.
Okay.
Yeah, you too. Well, bye.
Bye.
Take care.